Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call this evening's regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, July 26th, and the time is about 7:01. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Robert Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Joanne Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Jeffrey Sims. Commissioner Alvin DeJournette.
Here.
Commissioner Ray Baker. Vice Chair Patricia Corsick.
Present.
Chairman Jeffrey Barnes.
Here. And now, Commissioner Harris, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure.
Thank you.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. At this time, we need to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
Vice Chair Korzak moves. A second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Harris. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Oh, electronic vote? My apologies.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me, vote electronically. Mr. Stephen.
Okay, you did it.
There we go. All right. Motion carries 5-0. The agenda is approved. Next item is the consent calendar. There, the minutes, is that on the consent calendar? No, separate item? All right. We have no consent calendar items. Next is approval of the minutes. This would be from the meeting of May 24th.
I have a correction.
Okay?
Under roll call, it shows that Jeffrey Sims was here, present, but yet when you look through the votes, you'll see that he was not here. Just a simple little.
I'll adjust it. Thank you.
Right. So do we need an amended motion to?
You
approve
can
with
just
that
move to
correction?
amend with that correction.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I think the motion stands.
Motion, is the motion to approve with the correction?
Motion to approve with the correction.
Yes.
Sorry.
Thanks, Paul. A second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Harris. Please vote. All votes have been cast. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Now to the public comment portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to address the commission on any matter, either under the public comments section of the agenda or scheduled items or public hearings, must fill out a request to speak form available at the door. So please fill one out. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes to speak. Do we have any speaker slips?
We have 3. Rafael Brugueras, Ken Iglesias, and Luis Zuleta.
Thank you. Regaris.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, staff, residents, and our guests. It's been a little while since we've been together. And that's a good thing, because everybody got a chance to do some things, personal things, get things done, and work through the heat. For myself, it's been a wonderful thing because I was able to drive throughout my city from end to end and to see the progress that's been going on without the commission being in session because of all the approvals that we have done in the past. You know, you look at the roads, they're working on the roads. If you look at some of the, constructions, the buildings on the side of the freeway on Moreno Beach, the apartment houses, the houses on Eucalyptus by the Walmart. There's a lot of construction going on in the city of Moreno Valley because we approve great projects. It doesn't matter who sits on the chair. What counts is developing our city. In our city, we have 210,000 residents, a little less than 210,000 residents. We are the third in the nation, economical wise, the budget, the best. And we are the 21st largest city, I believe, in the county or in the state of California. We're doing very well. A lot of people are coming to Moreno Valley for many different reasons, but there's two for sure: jobs and affordable housing. We have that going in this city. So we need to continue that. What I like about driving in my city is that I get to see those lots, those brown lots, whether they're small or large, being filled with projects, whether it's warehouses, whether it's a hospital, whether houses, whether apartments, or whether businesses. We're slowly for surely filling those lots. One day, they're not going to need us any longer because everything's full. And that's the goal, to fill every lot in this city. And then we can rest for sure and have a longer summer. That's what we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Ken Iglesias?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, staff, and people watching. Today, I took a great opportunity to write RTA Route 40, which begins at the Riverside County Hospital and ends at Mid-Valley Community Center. This route was very interesting because I've taken only from Moreno Valley College all the way to the Riverside County Hospital. But today I will have the opportunity to take it all the way to the end, which was very interesting because I always wanted to take this one all the way to the end, but never had the opportunity to take it all the way to the end. But today I did. My first interesting thing that came was when Route 40 and Route 22 met together. Because I've taken Route 22 from downtown Riverside all the way to Lake Elsinore Outlet before, and I always wonder what that route was. The one that could see like a bus sign, like the bus stops here sign. And today I did have the opportunity to look at it. And it was very interesting because I've taken Route 22 multiple times before, but not Route 40, which takes all the way to Mid-Valley Community Center. And at Mid-Valley Community Center, there's like a nice bus stop right there, but there's no like sign that says the bus stop's here, or a schedule that says what time the bus will leave from this location. The route is a 1 hour route, so it's not that long. Because I've taken routes that were probably 2 hours before, like 74, Route 74 that takes you from Paris Transit Center or station all the way to San Jacinto College in San Jacinto, that travels through Hammett, Menifee, and Winchester. And Route 40 is like right there in the middle. But the one thing interesting, Route 40 can actually expand to maybe cover northeast of Moreno Valley, like Route 18, which takes from Route 18 is from Moreno Valley College all the way to Moreno Valley Mall and to Zion Meat Ranch. Route 40 can actually maybe go all the way up to Nathan and Allenwood and go around like have a circle up there, or it could take, that Route 31 path to Eucalyptus and Mono Beach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Luis Zulieta?
Our first time and we don't know what's going on, so it's a mistake to submit the request for to speak. I'm sorry. We have nothing to say.
All right, thank you. Any other speakers?
Sir.
All right. With that, we will close the public comment section. and move on to the first case on tonight's agenda. LGL 17-0014, a street vacation. The owner is O.M. MacArthur and Talik Chopra. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do, Chair Barnes. Vince Hiron from Land Development will be making the staff presentation.
Good evening, Chair Barnes and members of the commission. The item before you tonight is for the street vacation of a portion of Hemlock Avenue, westerly of Heacock Street and easterly of Sweggles Lane, along the frontage of an approved multifamily project. The applicant has submitted a request for the vacation of a portion of the north side of Hemlock Avenue in accordance with the conditions of approval for an approved multifamily residential project, which is plot plan PA 14-0027, which was previously approved. On August 25th, 2016, the Planning Commission approved plot plan PA 14-0027 for the development of a 39-unit residential apartment complex on 3 parcels. This is located on Hemlock Avenue, along the north side of Hemlock Avenue, and it totals approximately 2.6 acres. The project conditions of approval require that 7 feet of the existing right-of-way along the project frontage on Hemlock Avenue be vacated due to excess right-of-way and to accommodate the project's proposed on-site improvements. Specifically, the street vacation must be completed prior to the issuance of building permits. Pursuant to the provisions of Division 9, Part 3, Chapter 2 of the Streets and Highways Code of the State of California, a finding from the Planning Commission that the vacation of a portion of Hemlock Avenue is in conformance with the current general plan and zoning ordinance is required prior to formal review and action by the City Council on the requested vacation. In terms of the surrounding area, to the north of the project site are single-family residences zoned R5, which is intended for suburban residential use. To the south, east, and west is a mixture of single-family residences and apartment complexes zoned for multi-family. In terms of the review process, land development staff has reviewed the request for the vacation based on the applicable subdivision map and other property information provided by the applicant. This portion of Hemlock Avenue was dedicated for public use through the Sunnymead Orchards farm tract recorded on March 10th, 1926. At the time of recordation, the dedication for half-street right-of-way was 40 feet. Currently, Hemlock Avenue is designated as a collector street with a required half-street right-of-way of 33 feet. Staff has determined that 7 feet of the existing 40 feet of right-of-way along the project frontage is no longer necessary. A vacation of the 7 feet of right-of-way along Hemlock Avenue, as described and shown in the exhibits attached to the proposed resolution, is in accordance with the Streets and Highways Code. Planning staff has reviewed the applicant's request to vacate the portion of Hemlock Avenue and has determined that it is consistent with the city's zoning ordinance and general plan. Hemlock Avenue is not a required general plan street, and 33 feet of the remaining right-of-way will provide access to the proposed development project and adjacent properties. Any existing utilities will be protected in place with easements or relocated by the applicant. Notifications. Notice was published in the newspaper, and a public display notice was posted on the project site and at required city locations. Written notice of the intent to vacate Hemlock Avenue has been sent to the various utility companies, in addition to those businesses and residents within 300 feet of the project boundaries. We did receive some review agency comments from Southern California Edison, Southern California Gas Company, and the Eastern Municipal Water District, which all requested that an easement remain for some existing utilities within that 7 feet of right-of-way. As previously noted, all existing utilities will be protected in place with easements or relocated. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve resolution number 2018-39 and thereby find that the vacation of Hemlock Avenue is in conformance with the general plan and current zoning, and recommends that the City Council approve the street vacation for a portion of Hemlock Avenue. I'd also like to add that we did receive one phone call on July 19th asking for more information regarding the vacation. No name was given. So,
Okay.
and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Vince. Commissioners, any questions of staff? Would the applicant like to come forward and make a statement?
The applicant's representative is out of the, I think, state, so
Okay.
they're not here.
All right. Very well. No questions? All right. Well, at this time, then, we'll open the public hearing. Do we have speakers?
We have one, Rafael Brugueras.
Mr. Bergeras.
Good evening once again, Commissioner, staff, residents, and our guests. I got a clear understanding of what the word vacation meant. That was, you know, I struggle with that, standing on the dirt, looking at the project that I was supporting in the beginning that got approved. And my concern was that we don't scrap anything here because Hemlock needs a facelift, an improvement. And I didn't want to see the project go. That was my concern. And now that we got that straightened out, it's a little bit of math here, so we can straighten that out, and hopefully it gets approved tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeras. No other speakers?
No, sir.
All right, we'll close the public hearing and deliberate. Any comments? Seems fairly straightforward. Unless anyone wants to bring up some salient point, let's have a motion.
Okay, I'll do the motion. I recommend that we approve resolution number 2018-39.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Korzak, second from Commissioner DeJohnette. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Do we have a staff wrap-up of any kind?
This decision is final, right? Or it goes to the, I'm sorry, it goes to the council, my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes to the council for ratification of your recommendation.
Very good. Okay. Thanks very much.
Sure, at earliest possible hearing. Yeah, earliest possible hearing.
Okay.
Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, case number 2, PEN 17-0134, a change of zone, and PEN 17-0135, conditional use permit. The applicant is Winchester Associates. We have a staff report.
Yes, Chair Barnes. Excuse me, Associate Planner Jeff Bradshaw will be making the staff presentation this evening.
Good evening, Chair Barnes and members of the Planning Commission. The item presented to you this evening includes 2 applications, one for a zone change and the other for development of a mini storage facility at near the southwest corner of John F. Kennedy Drive and Paris Boulevard. And just as background for the project, the exhibit on the border on the display in blue highlights the area where the mini storage would be on the vacant property that you see there. That corner in the past was held under single ownership, and through the years was subdivided and then sold to various businesses until we were left with the remainder parcel of just under 5 acres. So the frontage has been developed, as I'm sure you've noticed as you've been out there, with the CVS pharmacy on the corner. There's a Family Dollar store, an O'Reilly Auto Parts, and El Pollo Loco restaurant. And those businesses all came in, purchased their sites, and developed across the entirety of the Paris frontage. And so what we're left with is just under 5 acres at the rear of each of those businesses with some frontage along John F. Kennedy Drive for access. And so the applicant came to us with a proposal to develop mini storage at the rear of those businesses. And staff worked with them in a design that worked, we believe, well with the adjacent residences. As they came forward with their proposal, one thing that staff had noted with them early on was the zoning that's in place currently, neighborhood commercial, is not a zone that allows for mini storage. And so the proposal was to change the zone to community community commercial zoning, which would then allow for the mini storage to be developed on that site with the process review rather and approval of a conditional use permit for that use. The entire corner is currently zoned neighborhood commercial. Planning wanted to see some conformity or uniformity in that zoning, and so we worked with the applicant to approach the adjacent property owners to see if they would agree to make that change as well. And so presented to you this evening is that request to change the zone for most of that corner, including the mini storage site, to allow for that use. The design of the facility places mini storage buildings along the western property line and the southern property line. It's separated from that common boundary with the existing homes by a landscape setback area on the west side of 12 feet and on the south by 15. And those setbacks match the height of the building, which is a code requirement of our municipal code. There's an existing wall at the rear of those homes. That wall will remain in place. And again, having worked with the developer, the thought was to place those buildings so the back of those buildings set a distance off the property line would act as an additional buffer to separate the operation of the mini storage use from the rear of those existing homes. The project as proposed would develop 538 mini storage units. It would include an office for the operations of the mini storage facility. On the second floor above the office is a caretaker's residence. And access to the facility would be from John F. Kennedy Drive. There's existing driveways there now that service the CVS pharmacy and provide access also to the other existing buildings along the Paris frontage, the other businesses. So primary access to the facility would be off of John F. Kennedy Drive. Any existing access concerns at the rear of CVS and Family Dollar would remain undisturbed. There's reciprocal access and easements that exist for that property line. And so that access at the rear of those businesses will remain unencumbered if this project is approved and when it's developed. The applicant did, again, work with us to site and design the buildings in a way we feel appropriately buffers the use from the adjacent residences. We worked with them in the preparation of technical studies to examine potential impacts under the categories of air quality, traffic, noise, and an initial study was prepared for the project, and ultimately a mitigated negative declaration is what's recommended for the project. There were no impacts identified for this project that could not be mitigated to less than significant. The noticing for this project was completed per our code with the site posted and mailing notices sent out to adjacent property owners as well as the newspaper notice. In response to that, I did take 2 phone calls from an adjacent property owner. They live off of the cul-de-sac street that backs to the northwest corner of this site. And both stated concerns or asked questions rather about how close the development might be, how tall the buildings might be, and how close the caretaker's residence would be, with some concerns about visibility from the caretaker's residence into their rear yard. Those were the only comments, I guess, or concerns that I received from the public in response to our noticing efforts. With that, I would conclude my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the project. Oh, I'm sorry, before I go. Before you are a number of things we have for you this evening. There's 2 memos, one for the item after this, but there's a memo prepared for this project, and that includes what are standard conditions from our transportation engineering staff. When the conditions were compiled and put into the staff report, these did not make it into that set, as it was an oversight, and we wanted to make sure that those conditions were placed on the project. So we would recommend that the Planning Commission approve the project, but by doing so by adding these conditions. Additionally, we spoke with the applicant and just asked some questions about the operation of the facility. And we did have some concerns about the gap between the rear of the buildings and the neighboring property. That will be landscaped. It will be fenced at both ends So the access that you might see from JFK, that will be fenced off with an 8-foot wrought iron fence. And the same thing on the Paris side. And that area is routinely visited by their caretaker. We still had concerns about the nighttime, and so we would recommend the addition of another condition that would require their coordination with the city on some type of security lighting at the rear of those buildings. We want to work with them on some type of lighting that's low impact, so it doesn't create a disturbance to the rear yards of those existing residences, but we also want to make sure that area is illuminated at nighttime. And so that is a condition we would also recommend adding to the project. And with that, I am now done with my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jeff. Questions?
I just have one question. Do you know why CVS Pharmacy didn't agree to participate in the zone change?
I think the applicant probably can speak more particularly to that. We approached, I believe, both the property owner and then CVS is the long-term leaseholder, and they chose or elected not to participate. As it's pointed out in the staff report, if they were to change their minds in the future, they could certainly approach the city and through separate application go through a process to make that change if they decide to change their minds in the future.
Any other questions?
I didn't see. Were there? What would be the operating hours of the storage facility?
I asked that question right before I sat down here, and I've managed to be nervous enough to forget what they told me. But the applicant is prepared to make a presentation this evening. I don't believe they operate past 9 o'clock in the evening, but I'll let them answer that so I can give you a more accurate answer.
We'll get that answer shortly. Commissioner Harris.
Yes, on the north view, that on the frontage of the property, I just wondered what the green area in the very front, what is that?
I believe what you're seeing is the landscape or the hedgerow from the street view. You're describing the green area.
Yes.
Just above where it says north?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that wasn't like a chain link fence with the green.
It's all open in the front.
Okay.
There is existing, if you've driven out there before, when CVS was developed, they needed a second point of access. And they needed a point of access that allowed for safe turning movements. As people exited that, they needed to go all the way to the far left to make a safe left turn out of that center. And so there's a long drive aisle that's existed there for years, and there's some landscape treatments and some parkway treatments that are already planted. And so there's a hedgerow that'll remain in place. Otherwise, it's completely open till you get to the buildings themselves. And then there'll be a little bit of landscape up against the building, and that's where you'll see the fence for access to the interior of the facility.
I think this is a very unique use for this property because to me it almost looked like it could be landlocked. Small area in the front and it's pretty deep. Anyway, thank you very much.
I was just wondering, so upon approval, there will be a condition in there about the lighting and security?
That is staff's recommendation, yes.
Okay.
We choose to add it when we make the motion.
Well, I think we should.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure we will.
All right.
Yeah. I have a question of fire. That buffer zone between the existing residences and the backside of buildings A, B, and C, it's about 600 feet of a 12-foot strip that you don't have physical access to. Is there any concerns with that?
Good evening, Chairman Barnes and Commissioners. Since there's no openings into the building on that side, there won't be a need for access to make entry into the buildings for firefighting purposes.
Okay, that's simple enough. Thank you. Any questions? All right, hearing no questions, let's get the applicant's presentation. Would you like to come forward?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the time reviewing our application tonight. I'll be happy to tackle any of those questions that you guys posed earlier. But while I'm up here, I wanted to share with you guys some of the logic that we've used over the past chunk of time analyzing and identifying this site as a great location for a new self-storage facility. To give you some quick background, my family's been in real estate development, the business for the past 30 plus years, building a range of products from single-family residential to multifamily and retail. For the past 20 years, we've focused on the development and operation of self-storage facilities throughout the Inland Empire. We currently own or operate 6 facilities throughout the IE in Fontana, Ontario, Montclair, Chino, and Wildomar. We've certainly gained a fundamental knowledge of how to successfully build and manage self-storage facilities in that time. Property has a number of unique attributes that we feel make it an excellent location for a new self-storage facility. Our request to you is for approval of a zone change and granting a conditional use permit. I've come up with a couple points I'd like to share on our logic in supporting this project. Firstly, self-storage is a needed product in your city. If you go around any of the facilities, they're all full. There's 5 facilities in a 2-mile radius of this property with an average occupancy of 97.5%. Our second point is that the irregular shape, limited access, and limited visibility of this site make other commercial developments difficult, while we feel self-storage can utilize the land best. Third, as an extremely minimal impact use, the project acts as an excellent buffer between the higher impact retail uses on Paris Boulevard and the residential uses to the east or to the west. And overall, we think approving this project is an improvement for the area overall. I'm going to welcome up our architect here in a minute, and he'll be able to delve deeper into the benefits of storage and answer any questions. I believe you guys asked about hours of operation. We would have an office open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, and we'd have gate access hours from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And there might have been one other question. It's escaping my mind at the moment.
I think that was it from us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The hours?
That green at the front was just a hedge that's required to shield for parking. There's 7 stalls at the front of the site, close to John F. Kennedy. There's an existing hedge there that we intend to use to shield for parking.
Okay, and then you had a question about security cameras?
Yes, on the west side here, it looks like there's access to storage facilities. And I would imagine that's going to be monitored through the use of security cameras.
Correct.
Would those, yeah, and I get a little concerned about the cameras being able to peer into the backyards of the people on the west side facing the property.
We'd have the cameras set up in a way where they're only able to point in a direction that monitors the entrance areas and this side setback area to make sure that we're monitoring who's going in and out of the property at any time.
Okay. So then it won't be able to look into the backyards of the residents on the west side of the facility.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't intend to spy on the neighbors. I'm going to welcome my architect up to answer any question you guys have.
Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Can we have your name for the record?
Yeah, my name's Garrett Gossett. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Commissioners, my name's Ken Carroll. I'm the project architect for this. Just to give you a little background on me, I've been a self-storage architect since 1998 when I started my company. I've designed over 200 facilities, and so I think I'm pretty good at doing this. As far as lighting goes, I know that was a concern for some of you. California Building Code does not allow more than a half-a-foot candle to leave the site. So any lighting we do will not affect the neighbors in any significant way. As far as security cameras go, we aren't going to be pointing anything at the neighbors. What we try to do is have the security cameras focused on at least 2 other security cameras. So that way, if somebody tries to break in and they think they're being clever and they break one camera, well, they got 2 other cameras taking their picture of them doing that. So the security on a facility like this is excellent. The back walls are approximately 12 feet high for some of them are a little higher. That prevents somebody from trying to climb over, by taking a pallet and throwing it up against a wall and then climbing the pallet like they would do with a 6-foot or 7-foot fence. So security is very important on these sites, and because we don't have any openings on the rear, as fire department mentioned, we won't have any openings that somebody can try to break into, so there's no need to have cameras back there. Also want to let you know that self-storage is the lowest traffic generator of any use, period. It's even got less use than cemeteries, which people think is hilarious when I tell them that. But it's because you have one funeral a day and you're pumping 100 cars into the cemetery. Well, we don't have that much traffic. Your typical self-storage customer comes in, rents a unit, moves in one day, is there 3 to 6 months. He doesn't even come back to the site to pay his bill. They put him on auto pay. So when he comes out ready to move out, he comes back in 3 to 6 months, loads his stuff up and leaves. But then I've had clients that have tenants that have been there for over 20 years in their units. So it's very low impact on traffic. It's very low impact on noise because they're moving in and out. It's not like a warehouse or a manufacturing plant where they've got forklifts running, all the time, things like that. So the traffic or the noise is much lower than most other uses, and they shut down at night. So, they're not disturbing anybody. And because of the way the buildings are designed and set up, it's going to block a lot of the very loud noise from the shopping center that's on the other side. So the residents will have this buffer in between them to help keep things a little quieter. So that's really all I have to say. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we will open up the public hearing. Do we have speakers for this?
We do. We have 3, Rafael Brugueras, Ken Corral, and Ken Iglesias.
Good evening once again, Commissioner, staff, residents, and guests. By looking at the diagram, we're going to answer Mr. Harrison, Commissioner Harris. Question, it's a little island there. It's all green, because I had to go through it to look at the posting. So I'm glad it was up there long enough for you to see it again. So it's a little, like a little private island. So if you look at JFK Drive, that's the street. Then you have the island with the shrub and the trees. Then there's the little street, then the storage. So if people are driving by, going east and west, you wouldn't even recognize it if you're going by 40 miles an hour, because the hedges block the entrance, and that's a good thing. So you don't really get to see the storage unless you know it's there. The other good thing about it, by looking at the diagram, it fills up that lot, that brown lot, that dirt lot that's been sitting there for a long, long time. It's going to get used. And the good thing that they mentioned is security. Now, what I didn't hear, as we look at the other 5 storage bins that we have in our city, I didn't see it like a little house built up the way people live in it, like the other ones. Some of them are occupied by a tenant that looks over the lot. Here, we're talking about only security. So if you do that, is somebody monitoring the security cameras? Because we know that Moreno Valley has their little crime. And storage bins might be one of those objects that people like to get into. But that 12-foot wall, I don't know how they're going to get the couch up there or the flat TV. I mean, you got to have a piece of rope and pull it up, okay? So that's a good thing that's 12 foot high, okay? Because I know about pallets. I was a warehouseman for a lot of years. That's a lot of pallets that you got to put together to climb up like a ladder. Okay, so I'm glad for that part. You know, we can make fun of a lot of things that they mentioned because I've been in that industry. But what's important that he mentioned that there's going to be a buffer between the houses on my right side and the shopping center on that corner because it's a pretty busy corner. So they're doing justice for the people that live on that far side with those houses. There's a buffer with the cameras. I don't think anybody's going to spy on anybody. I mean, you know, they're not there for that. And it's true. Very little traffic. You and I know if we ever rented a storage, we pay the bill and we forget about what we put in there until we need it. Then we go back, and that may be every couple of months, you know, but it's a nice project. It's in a good location, you know, and it'll fill up that lot. And that's what I mentioned earlier. We want to fill up these lots in our city with good projects, and I hope it gets approved, and I hope they keep their promises.
Thank you, Mr. Regares. Next speaker, Ken Carroll. All right. Moving on, Mr. Iglesias.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My mom used to have a storage, I used to rent a storage unit, and I used to put some stuff in there too. And when I first heard about this, my concerns were the hours because we did find like the hours were too short, but I was like very happy to find out that the storage unit would be all the way open to 9 p.m., which is an excellent time. And for lighting, as I heard, I would probably ask for the commissioners maybe to maybe have LED lighting, the type of lighting that we see in Nathan, but with sensor. The only way those lights should be active, like will be activated, if they sense someone. I think that would be the best way. And maybe for security cameras, maybe like have maybe 4K or maybe one of the nicest top quality security cameras to know who is coming in, and if there was a crime to see who was exiting at the time. And it would be probably the lighting that would probably be more strongest, like sensor lighting, which would be only activated by someone walking or being by movement with LED, like nice clear lighting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iglesias. No other speakers?
No, sir.
All right, with that, we will close the public hearing and deliberate. Thoughts? While everybody's thinking, I have a question of staff, which I should have asked before. I noticed there's 8-foot wrought iron on the east side as security, but on the west side there's an existing 6-foot wall, and I know it's advantageous to save money and leave the wall in place, but any thoughts of requiring a higher fence just for security purposes? Because in my experience, a lot of times existing 6-foot walls, after grading and construction's completed on the other side, end up being, 5.5, 5.25. So I'm just would be concerned that that's sufficient protection.
The 6 foot satisfies the city's requirements for adjacency between a residential use and a commercial use. We looked at noise as a potential impact, and out of that analysis, there was no indication that the 8-foot wall was required. Our code does allow for the taller walls in instances for screening and for noise attenuation. We had not anticipated, I guess, requiring that of the developer in this case.
Yeah, okay. Then a general question on that process. They go out and construct, and due to grading constraints or issues, they end up with a situation where the wall ends up being less than 6 feet. Is there a process that you'll require that they add a course for the sections that drop below the minimum or anything?
The 6 foot has to be maintained, and so if through review of the grading plans or a site condition after the fact. We can't get all the way to occupancy and release the project and give it a building final or occupancy if there's something deficient in the condition out there.
Okay.
It would need
All
to
right.
remain a 6-foot wall at a minimum.
So there's a mechanism to address that. Okay, that answers my question. All right, back to deliberation. Anybody have any comments? Well, seems like an excellent use of the property to me, and seems,
Chair Barnes?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. If this is helpful, we've come up with some language for the security lighting that we read into the record, and then if you're agreeable to that language, we will formalize it and type it up and put that into the conditions of
that
approval.
would be great. Yeah, go ahead and read that in, and then we can just reference it in the motion.
Security lighting shall be required at the rear of buildings A, B, C, and D. The lighting shall be low profile, shall not spill over into the adjacent residential uses, and shall meet the city's requirements for lighting at a property line.
That sums it up very well. All right. No comments? Somebody want to make a motion? You're on a
Okay.
roll.
Well, nobody else stepped
3 in a row.
forward. No, that's it. All right.
Step up.
I recommend that we approve resolution number 2018-32, 2018-33, 2018-34, including the conditions of approval from the Transportation Engineering Division that was provided to us this evening.
And the condition for lighting that
And the
was read
condition
into-
for lighting that was just read.
Very good. A second?
I'll second.
Co-seconds from Commissioners Harris and DeJohnette. Take your pick. All right, please vote. That's fast. We're getting better at this. Motion passes 5-0. Staff wrap up?
Yes, Chair Barnes, staff will be taking the zone change portion of this item to the City Council at the earliest available hearing. The Commission's decision tonight on the conditional use permit, unless appealed, will be operative but dependent upon the council approval of the zone change.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to case 3. PEN 160086, a general plan amendment. PEN 160087, a zone change. PEN 16-0088, conditional use permit. The applicant is Yum Yum Donuts. We have a staff report?
Good evening, Chair Barnes, members of the Planning Commission. The item presented to you this evening is a request from the applicant to develop the northeast corner of Paris Boulevard and Cottonwood Avenue with a convenience store, service station, car wash. And this is a unique combination of things in the convenience store. It is primarily a donut store with convenience store sales and in the service station component as well as the car wash. So this is a new concept from the applicant from Yum Yum Donuts. Something similar to this, I think, was presented to the Planning Commission some months ago at the corner of Day and Cottonwood, a similar concept of donut store with a convenience store. This is similar to that with the addition of the service station component. The applicant's also requesting that the city approve through the same conditional use permit beer and wine sales at this location through a Type 20 license from the state. The property on the corner is currently zoned office commercial. The vacant property that you see on this exhibit between Cottonwood and Dracia is currently under the same ownership. And the applicant is focused currently on developing the immediate corner with this convenience store proposal that's presented to you this evening. The office commercial zone does not currently, the office commercial zone would not allow for the combination of the land uses that's being requested by the applicant. The underlying general plan land use designation is residential office, which is, if you look at the goals and intent of that particular land use designation, it's far different from what you would expect to see in this case. And so the applicant's requested both a general plan amendment and a zone change to allow for this particular use at this corner. The proposal then would be to change the general plan from residential office to commercial, and the corresponding zoning from office commercial to community commercial for the corner. That would allow the applicant then to come to you with the conditional use permit application they have this evening for your recommendation to council. And the conditional use permit would be the vehicle to approve both the convenience store operation and the beer and wine sales from the convenience store. This application's been on file with the city since 2017. We've looked at a number of concepts for the corner. The applicant has worked with us diligently throughout that time frame to come up with a design that took into consideration the adjacent residential uses at the rear of the facility, as well as the church use across the street. And so we worked with them to place the gas pump islands at the corner. We worked with them to set the building some distance off the property line and create an appropriate separation from the rear yards of those existing homes. So the current design would site the building about 38 feet off the property line. There is a drive aisle that crosses behind there for access to the automated car wash. The car wash, we also worked with the developer to place on the site so that it was set as far as we could place that from the residences. And one of the conditions on the project is in this case, the construction of an 8-foot wall at the property line to act as both a screen and noise attenuation. And that wall is required along the entirety of the rear property line, the common property line with the residences. When you come to the north edge of the property, you wouldn't typically see a wall that would separate a commercial use from a future commercial use, but in this case, the wall turns and continues down that north property line to the depth of the car wash. So it provides additional screening for the homes to the north as well as additional noise attenuation. So the applicant, again, worked with this and we arrived at a design that staff felt comfortable presenting to you this evening that sets the operation of the car wash and the gas sales about as far as we could place those on this site from the residences. In this case, the applicant also worked with staff, with their consultant in the preparation of an environmental document. We had the opportunity to review technical studies for air quality, greenhouse gas, noise, and traffic. And the outcome of all of that analysis was, again, a recommendation, the outcome of that was that we're able, through design and conditions, to be able to make the statement that the impacts here would be less than significant, and that is through design and some mitigation placed on the project. Access to the facility would be from Paris Boulevard. That would be controlled as right-in, right access only. The applicant will be required to extend the landscape median that's there all the way to the intersection. The second point of access would be off of Cottonwood Avenue, and that would be a full access driveway. They will be working with staff through conditions on a striping plan that acknowledges the operation of the church on the opposite side of the street and allow both this new use and the church to continue operating at the same time without creating an impact on each other. There was a meeting held for this project last Wednesday that the applicant sponsored. Staff was able to attend the meeting. There were at least 4 residences there at the meeting that spoke and had questions. Their concerns included just the adjacency of this use, the appropriateness of having a gas station so close to residences. There was some discussion of kind of the history of this site, how it's been vacant for a long period of time, and maybe some of the issues maybe that they have experienced with it remaining vacant. And I believe some of the residents might be here this evening to speak, so I'll let them present their concerns in more detail. But in response to the noticing efforts, did not receive any additional phone calls, so that was really the only contact I had with the public in response to the city's noticing efforts for this project. before you this evening, there's another memo. This memo is a recommendation to add conditions to this project that are standard conditions for our city from our Economic Development Department. And they speak to local hiring practices and services available through the city to help promote their business and make it a successful business. So staff would recommend that the Planning Commission, if they are supportive of that, to add these conditions to the project. Additionally, there was a letter submitted by a property owner from across the street stating their support of the project, and that's available to you this evening as well. With that, staff would recommend certification of the environmental document for this project, and approval of the project is presented to you this evening with the additional conditions of approval.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions of staff? Would the applicant like to make a presentation? Come forward.
Good evening, Chairman Barnes, Vice Chair, Commissioners, staff, and guests. My name is Lincoln Watase. I'm the president for Yum Yum Donuts. Yum Yum is a family-owned business headquartered here in Southern California. It was started by my dad and his partner back in the early 70s, and I've been the president since 1993. And in 2004, we were fortunate enough to acquire Winchell's donut chain as well. So that today, with just under 200 stores, we are the largest chain of donut shops in California today, and we're growing. We have about 15 new donut shops that that are in the pipeline that we're looking to develop. That we either own the underlying land or long-term leases have been signed. And in addition to those donut shops, we have our new concept, which is the Win-Win Fill-In Station. So Win-Win combines gasoline with custom-made sandwiches and soups and salad offerings, along with your full convenience offerings, and of course, what we know best, it has a full production donut shop. What's a little bit interesting, this picture kind of shows it. We opened our first Win-Win Fill-In Station in La Puente, California earlier this year, late February. And as you can see, there's a lot going on. This site is 2,350 square feet, and this project, Cottonwood in Paris, would be more than twice that size. So this Moreno Valley site would be our flagship Win-Win Fill-In Station. It would have more dispensers, obviously more square footage. It would allow us to, what we're trying to do is we want to be, bar none, the best gas station in Southern California, if not in all of California. So that is our vision. This shows our donut case, which is interesting. It's a self-serve donut shop, donut case. So it's been very well received by the customers. If somebody's in a hurry, they can just walk up and get what they need and be on their way. If they have time, they can browse, and kids really love it. So it has a focus on variety. We want our customers to come in there and really feel that they're just given this tremendous choices of convenience store items, as well as fresh custom-made food offerings, as well as donuts. And our pricing, we're trying to be as close as possible to like Costco pricing for our gas. We really believe in this idea. We want this to be a high volume location, so we're happy to use the gas as which is new to us, as a way to bring customers to the site, and then while they're there for their convenience, they can also get a cup of coffee or a donut, sandwich, and so forth. So again, this is all under one roof, and to date, it's been very well received. We have 5-star ratings from Gas Buddy and Yelp. Just to read a few, it's the best experience I've had so far. Great, and the donuts are good too. I love this gas station. another good low pay. This person said cheap gas. We like the term inexpensive. We prefer. Clean station, very spacious and well lit. Fast, tasty, and friendly. The lot is huge and great lighting. And so they just go on and on. So that is what our goal was. And this is as a new development, we are hoping that this is successful and something that we can, once it proves itself, to that's something that we could further develop. So we're giving this every chance for success in the design build out, in the spacing of the cars, and trying to maximize parking and make it as attractive as possible. Our goal is we want everyone who experiences this to want one of these near them for their convenience because of the value and the convenience and the speed of service. Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Harris.
I just wondered about the sound wall. It comes around, it wraps the car wash to the entrance, and it doesn't go all the way down to the exit where I would think that most of the noise would be produced, even though there's doors. And I just wondered if that sound wall would be better if it was extended all the way to the exit where the blower and all the noise is really going to be coming from.
This would be our second site, and this would be our first car wash, so it's not something that I have much experience with.
Commissioner, the Commissioner Harris, the wall's intended to extend to the full depth of the length of the car wash.
Okay, because it didn't, when I was looking through it, I didn't see that.
The condition would be for that wall to extend to at least the depth of the car wash.
Okay.
It does extend.
Okay. It looked like in the drawing I saw that it just went to the entrance and then it stopped.
Odd Gadiri with ANS Engineering. I'm the architect of the project. To answer your question, sir, yes, it does, as Jeff indicated.
Okay.
That was an additional measure that car wash. We intentionally directed the car wash toward Paris, so all the noise.
Thank you very much.
What will the hours of operation be?
Just like all of our donut shops, 24
hours?
7 days a week.
Does that include the car wash?
Car wash is limited based on 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
7 to 10? Okay. Any other questions of the applicant or his team? Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions. With that, we will.
My apologies.
Go ahead.
I just first of all, I want to thank your staff. They have been fabulous for the past. They have held our hand throughout this whole process, and Jeff has been kind enough to work with me on these conditions when we got him last week. And again, Jeff and I have spoken about this. There were a couple of conditions that they're going to clarify for us later, as far as the slurry and some other ones. So I just wanted to, staff knows that we have some, not concerns, but discussions that's going to go on after this with some of the conditions. Jeff knows about it. Thank you.
Lastly, I just wanted to share that we did not arrive empty-handed. We have a lot of donuts for folks to please share and take with you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there, Jeff, sorry, is there a change of the conditions that should be read into the record, or is it just a minor issue that doesn't warrant?
Well, I don't want to speak for the applicant. There were some questions about how some of the conditions would be applied. Some of the questions were about fees, for example, what the conditions mean when they were referred to payment of a Stevens kangaroo rat mitigation fee, what the multi-species fee means, the TUMP fee. So we talked about some of that. The other question, I believe, has to do with the city's standard requirement for undergrounding of overhead lines and how that applies to this project. There are some overhead lines. My understanding in talking to Public Works staff earlier today is that the city public works director has the authority to interpret and enforce that, and kind of take projects case by case. And that's kind of where we stand today, is not knowing exactly how that condition is going to be enforced, other than it is a standard requirement of all projects
So
to.
there might be a Rule 20 underground across the frontage? Right.
The specifics I'll defer to land development, I think, but that was one of the questions, was the condition related to the undergrounding.
Is that something serious enough that should be identified prior to the approval? It's a big ticket item.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Michael Lloyd with Land Development. Per the municipal code, we're required to condition all projects, whether it's this one or any other project, to underground overhead utilities. There is, as Jeff mentioned, some discretion by the city engineer where there are some potential exceptions. We haven't gone through the analysis with the applicant to determine whether this project meets any of those exceptions or not. So, as I mentioned, all projects are required to do this per the municipal code, and the project was conditioned as such.
Okay, so the condition's already there to underground. Yeah, okay. All right, that's all I had.
One other item that I want to discuss, since the land development's here, there was a condition there for slurrying. Is that a general condition, or is that something that applies to us? Or if you don't mind to clarify that for me.
Sure. Again, Michael Lloyd with Land Development. All projects are conditioned this way. So if the street improvements are existing along the project frontage, then we have that slurry based upon the condition of the pavement. So we'll work with your team as you go through the development of your construction documents, and we'll determine what improvements are needed along the frontage.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You have a question?
Yes, I just wanted,
Of the applicant?
yeah, can I?
Sorry. Apologies.
Sorry. I just wanted to, I thought I saw in the plan that the car wash was going to be a self-service 24-hour car wash. Now, you said that it would just be closing at 10.
Yes, sir, it's self-serve, but based on the acoustical study is 7 to 10.
It'll be closing what time?
10 p.m.
Oh, 10, okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everything was,
Right, but the convenience store and the gas would be 24/7.
right,
The car wash would be open at 7 a.m., close at 10 p.m.
okay, thank you.
That does bring up a question for me, Jeff. The mitigation monitoring plan calls out, I think, 60 decibels as the noise emission from the car wash. You guys actually measure that, or is that just somebody's hypothetical that?
As part of the mitigation measures, if there was a question concerning that in terms of the noise information that the city has available, we could ask the applicant to provide more information in terms of some follow-up after the project's built to see what that noise level actually is at the site. So
You could physically go out and measure it potentially?
yeah, I mean, with city staff wouldn't, but we could ask that the applicant do that.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, with that, let's move on to the public hearing. Do we have any speakers?
We do. We have 3, Rafael Brugueras, Ken Iglesias, and Teresa Anchuleta.
Brugueras.
Evening once again, commissioners, staff, guests, and our residents. I want to thank the developer choosing Moreno Valley again. Instead of being Yum Yum, now it's Winchell's. I hope that the one on Day Street will continue to be Yum Yum, and now the one on Cottonwood will be Winchell's. Win-win. So same owner, same developer, but 2 different names. So he's going to profit for both sides, and that's a good thing. He's in the business of making donuts and making money. But the unique thing is he's added a gas station to this. I mean, the only donut shop that I know that has a gas station. You know, one name, Yum Yum or Winchell's. So, you know, new times, new thinking. A way to capture all your customers in one place. That's his thought. And that's a good thing. And I'm glad. And it looks good by looking at the project, by looking at the diagrams. I have a concern, the 10 o'clock one, from 7 to 10. That's too long, 10 o'clock at night, cleaning cars. So by the time the person shuts on the machine and wipes on the car, it's 11 o'clock at night. And he's probably playing his music. I would, if I was wiping down my car, 10 o'clock at night, in this heat, I sure be playing music or hanging out. I don't know. What I'm saying is maybe from 7 to 8 and allow the residents to have an evening. We don't need a car wash that long. They could go to the south one on Sunami Boulevard or Hicot. I don't think a car wash should be open that long. I can see from 6 in the morning, because it's light, to 8, because it's summer. So what happens in the winter when we got 5 o'clock nights? Now, additional 5 extra hours at night. A resident should have a time for themselves. I don't think the residents are asking for a lot. Maybe cut back 2 hours and see how that works. Let's do that as a pilot first. Let's do the 8 o'clock one, and then maybe if it something can change. Give the residents an opportunity. They lived in that area with nothing in front of them for a lot of years. Okay? And they're concerned about noise. But I do want the lot full with something on it. And this is an opportunity to have this developer to do something for that community. But I don't want to steal their peace either. So let's work with the residents and make sure they have an opportunity to work on the wall. And I'm glad they mentioned that it's going to go all the way down, and the lighting, and make sure that we don't have people hanging out at night at a donut shop or a car wash. Make sure that the owner holds that, to his responsibility.
Thank you. Mr. Iglesias.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, staff, and guests. I'm against the gasoline station. That's the only thing that I'm against about. But I am for the donut shop. The donut shop will be a good addition. Everyone loves donuts. If you don't love donuts, you should just try one. If there's someone in here who doesn't love donuts, there's like some donuts back there. And lastly, it's like the bus stop. I'm very concerned about the bus stop. The bus stop is like, on this current plan, is like a halfway bus stop. I would like to see it to be like a full in bus stop, so when someone who's riding the bike will not be interrupted by stop and will have to look for cars coming around. Because there's some bus stop. Because there has been there are bus stops that are within bike lanes, and when the bus comes in, it's blocking the bike lane. And I would like to see the bus stop, the future bus stop that's going to be there, be like a full-in, drive-in bus stop, so that the person driving the bike will not be interrupted by the bus and have to worry about oncoming cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Teresa Anculeta.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Teresa Archuleta, and I'm a resident of Moreno Valley, and I do live on Birchwood. And my backyard sits on the empty lots and the lot that they want to build a Yum Yum donut, the car wash, sell liquor, and the store. This has been a very, very large problem for the residents that do live their backyards that our backyards face Paris. We have had many problems with these vacant lots. First of all, it's never maintained well. Right now, if you go down and look at it, it's trashy. There's weeds. And we have a big problem with homeless people. It's an ongoing problem. yes, I'd like to see some development there, but there has been issues. I live across the street from the taqueria, which was a Dollar General store. There's like a little mall there where there's different businesses. We don't have a sound wall. And I have to put up with the noise from all these businesses. I put up with the dirt. I live with dirt every day. I can't even open my back door. And it sounds so good that he says that this is a good development for this land. Yes, it is. But what about the sound wall? Here, I'm going to have to put up with the noise of the car wash. I'm going to have to put up with the noise with the traffic. And most of all, the homeless. They don't maintain these lots. They don't talk about the other lots that's going to be vacant. What's going to happen there? The homeless are going to move more. I live in the middle. My home sets right in the middle of those lots. And there's so much going on there. High crime. Dollar General shut down because it was always robbed every week. I've addressed this to the city. I've gone to the city on the problem of the homeless and the trash that we accumulate there every day because it's windy. And all the trash from all those businesses, the trash comes directly. We just have a fence. And now they want to build a business, and we're going to hear all this noise, and we're not going to have a sound wall, only a sound wall just for the business, not, and
Thank you. Your time's up. Thank you very much. Do you have any other speakers?
No, sir.
All right. Having no speakers, we'll close the public hearing and deliberate. Thoughts? Yes, there is a sound wall that will run from Cottonwood northerly to the north end of the project, wrap around the corner, and then go to the west end of the car wash. Yes, it'll run between the residents. 8 foot. Question for you, Vince, is there a preliminary grading plan for this?
Good evening, Chair Barnes. Yes, there's preliminary grading plan. It's not a particular project I reviewed, but that's a standard requirement for all these
All right, I didn't see it in the project package. I wanted to look at the relationship between the residential pads on the backside and the car wash. I would assume they're above.
Chair, I don't have that exhibit in front of me, but maybe the engineer that worked on the project could more adequately address that question.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, could you come forward if you can answer the question?
A bit higher, and the wall is going to be about 8 feet high from our grade up, so it'll be higher. If I answer the question correctly.
Okay, so it's 8. So it'll be 8 feet on the low side.
Low side, right? On our side, we are supposed to maintain 8 feet from our grade, 8 feet high.
Okay.
And just one thing to keep in mind is the entrance to the car wash is only 7 feet tall. We have doors on each end, and we have also we have taken a lot of extreme measures to make sure that number one priority for Yum Yum Donuts is to make sure that neighbors are comfortable, and there are customers that we want to make sure they're not bothered. 8 foot high, while we have a 7 foot entrance to the car wash. We have doors on both ends that are closed when the car wash is running, so you don't hear anything. And also we have faced the car wash toward Paris, the exit where the dryer is. And we don't have any parking spaces at the entrance of the car wash where, people come in, put the vacuum on, it's all facing toward Cottonwood or Paris. So, and the building itself is a buffer to the homeowners. So again, hopefully these 5-6 measures we've taken are to consider the comfort of the neighbors next to us. So
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The car wash, when the car is finished washing,
yes, sir.
Does it have the blower
Yes, sir. But it,
Will the doors be closed
Yes,
while
sir.
it's, while
Yes,
it's
sir.
blowing?
Yes, yes, yes.
Also, the 8-foot wall, is that on the, let's see, Paris Boulevard runs north and south, so I'm looking at the east end.
East wall.
Between the facility and the residence.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's on the east, it goes east, north on the east wall, and then turns left west and goes all the way past the car wash.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Personal preference, I would imagine. I guess another question of staff. The city's general noise ordinance, isn't there a 10 o'clock threshold for that? In other words, if there's a loud party or something.
Yeah, the city has quite a complex noise ordinance that has different levels and times for different uses. In addition to that, there's a general prohibition that's related to being able to plainly audible at a distance of 300 feet, I think, that will relate to other sounds on there, but there are specific categories and times and decibel limits for things like the machinery, like the car wash.
Okay.
What hours do they normally operate, the car washes in the city? Other ones?
I would say in a similar time frame to what's proposed.
Is it?
9 or 10 o'clock, something like that.
I have to say, I don't really have an issue with the 10 o'clock because, as Paul was referring to, there are noise ordinances that, control general noise. Your neighbor could have a party, and my understanding, he's going to be able to play his loud music probably until 10 o'clock before he's forced to shut it down. So, that was the answer I was hoping to find. So. Well, to do that, we'd have to
My concern
reopen
was
the
just the fact that
public hearing, right, Paul?
That would be independent, you wouldn't be able to answer the questions.
Right.
It's their opportunity to comment and then to address. I would
Okay,
recommend
thank you.
against getting involved in a question and answer period.
Speak up so everybody can hear.
The general car wash, in my familiarity with the car washes, they don't butt up against residences.
Right.
And that would be the difference that I would think about with the
That was
10
my
o'clock.
concern.
Right. And then these are the residences here.
I think it's a nice project.
Right. And
If there's deliberations, I would suggest we do them individually and on the record.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you want to speak, Commissioner Stevens, you have a
Well,
comment?
my only concern was the fact that it does butt against the residents, but also that property has been vacant for a long time. I've been here for 35 years, and I'm really elated to see something going in there, and it looks like a very nice project, actually. It really does, and I think it's going to enhance that area. And hopefully, it doesn't go on the same path as some of the other places, but the other places already were developed in areas that have already had other businesses. This is a totally new building and a new gas station and a new area, and so I really like the project myself. My concern was for, the fact that, but it seems like they've covered everything, and I really do believe that the developer is taking into consideration everything. I really do. So I don't have a problem with it.
Any other comments?
I think it's a great project.
All right. I do too. I think the measures that have been taken to mitigate the noise, the doors on each end, the 8-foot wall, the fact that it's as far from the property line as it probably physically can be. There's no parking for drying off your car, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of loitering or hanging out. So I think, considering the situation, it's a well-designed project. So if somebody would like to make a motion,
I'll make a motion.
excellent.
Read it.
Oh, shoot. I just closed it all up.
Read mine.
Yeah. we recommend to approve resolution number 2018-35. And this is my first time.
Go to B.
And we recommend to approve resolution number 2018-36. And then we also move to approve resolution number 2018-37. And we also recommend to approve resolution number 2018-38.
Would that be with the proposed amendments of staff?
Yes.
A second?
A second.
Commissioner Harris, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Again, there you go. All right, all votes are cast. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Staff wrap up?
Yes, Chair Barnes. Again, staff will be taking the general plan amendment and zone change portions of this item to the City Council at its earliest available hearing. And the Commission's decision, again tonight on the conditional use permit, unless appealed, will be operative but dependent, again, upon council approval of the zone change and general plan amendment.
Thank you. All right, that is the final case of the evening. I see no other commission business. Do we have any staff comments?
I have none, Chair Barnes.
Thank you. Planning Commissioner comments? All right, well, I just want to welcome 2 new businesses to the city, wish them well, and I trust they'll be great neighbors and move the city forward. So thank you, everyone, for your time. At this point, we'll adjourn the meeting until the next regularly scheduled meeting on August 9th, 2018 at 7 p.m. in these chambers. Good night. Drive safe.